Welcome to Power Movers, the podcast where we empower business owners and entrepreneurs to reclaim their time, master their systems, and live the life they love. From leveraging AI to implementing business operating systems that bring clarity and focus, to exploring the transformative power of wellness practices like breathwork, meditation, and cold exposure, we cover it all. We'll dive into the tough conversations about mental health, share practical tools to help you harness the power of your mind and your body so you can feel better, perform better, and achieve more. Join me, Roy, as we uncover strategies, share inspiring stories, and explore the tools that will help you move your business and your life to the next level. Right, so I'm here today with Suzanne Hopson, and Suzanne is one of my fellow business coaches with the Boss Up community. But she has an amazing story. She's started in property when she was 19 years old, and she's literally grown her way all the way up to the top and out the other side. So welcome, Suzanne. Lovely to see you, and I'm really interested to hear some of your journey and how that might help some of my guests.
Thanks, Roy, my friend. It's really good to be on your podcast and just be seeing you and talking with you and catching up. So I'm really happy to be here.
So the first question I have to ask is, tell me about being in a band.
My gosh. Yes. So the dream, and many a dream of a girl, a young girl, is to sing in a rock band or sing in a band or sing. And that did not escape me as a young child. And so I grew up in a musical family. Not that I had any rock band members in the family, but I did have musical background, classical music mostly, piano and other orchestra instruments. And it really was not planned at all. I actually did this through my work. We were challenged by our company, and we had several properties, several hundred employees. But we were challenged with using the gifts and talents of the people on our team to do something constructive for the community. And so we went through the exercise of seeing what we all had in common, which took a minute. We had people that were in management roles, people that were in custodial roles, service management roles, accounting roles. And what we found in our little group of 7 was that we all had music in common. And 2 of the people, I was the property manager at the time, and 2 of the people that worked for me in the service department were brothers, and they had already belonged to a band. So they already had some setup for us. And I was pretty shy at that time. And I was like, well, I can play the piano if we're going to do Chopin or something like that. I can do that. And they were like, well, I don't think that's really going to speak to our audience. And so I said, well, let me try singing. And so that was my debut of singing in front of people. And interestingly enough, that year and a half that we all played together, we did this for the Hospice Foundation, the National Hospice Foundation. We raised $25,000 and we did concerts in Detroit and in Chicago. And it was a lot of fun. My parents came out to watch me. It was pretty good. It was pretty fun. Yeah. But that's as far as it went, Roy. I did not become a star by any means, but it was a neat time. And yeah, that's my story of being in a rock band. Yeah.
And that's so interesting, isn't it? You get a bunch of people together that work together, and you put them in a room and say, well, what do we all do? And music falls out of it. But how much did that connect you guys all as a
Oh,
team? And yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It was amazing. I mean, first off, we didn't really know that about each other prior to us going through this exercise. And we built trust through this, really. We had to rely on each other to see through it to the end, to give each other feedback because some of us needed feedback, me especially, on how to be better. And so you had to listen to people and what their feedback was. And there were just people that had more experience in that industry and doing that as a hobby or a side job than perhaps I or other people on the team had. And so it was really just a leveling of the playing field and the roles went away. And it was more about lending expertise and recognizing people's strengths and how that could build synergy to do something that none of us could do alone. That was really neat. And I carried that exercise for team building throughout my entire career. It's really served me well in that way.
So you're an entrepreneur, and my favorite type of people, and we're going to dig into that a little bit. But I want to go back to your early life when you before the bug bit, or maybe a bit even earlier. Just tell us a little bit about before you actually took the big step, as I like to call it.
Yeah, it was a big step. So, like we've talked about before, Roy, I started out at a very young age, finding myself not wanting to be in fast food for the rest of my life. I was working 3 jobs. I had my daughter at the age of 21. I was a single mom. A lot going on in my early years of just trying to find my way and not really sure where I was going to end up or what I was really good at. And so I had a mentor at the first property that I ever worked at. I was actually there to rent an apartment, and my leasing consultant, I still know her to this day, 30 years later. She said to me, "We have a job opening here, and it involves sales, and I think you'd be great at it." And I was terrified. I mean, I'm not even an outgoing person by nature. I'm an introvert, and I had no idea what she saw in me. But I thought, wow, this would be a real job. This would be like a real office job where I didn't have to sling burgers. Not that I have anything wrong against, I oftentimes look back at my McDonald's days for process. But this was like a real opportunity. And so I took the leap. She took me in. My title was phone girl at the time, which now is horribly not acceptable, right?
For sure.
I was the
You
phone
want,
girl. I
you want
wasn't.
to, you want to put that on your business card.
Oh, I wasn't even allowed to have those yet. Are you kidding? So I had to prove myself to get into the next level. But I remember learning the just answering the phone and answering it correctly. And I was horrible at it. I really was. I was not good at it at all. And she stuck with me. And she was one of the few people, even now in my work life, that has given me straight feedback where, it was unfiltered. And at the time, it didn't necessarily feel all that great, but I listened and I was open to it. And it really made a huge difference. And I remember her, and she's part of my stories to this day because she probably saved me a lot of pain and turmoil by simply giving me good feedback and regular feedback. So I worked my way up from there in property management. I took a few jobs and did some different things in radio. I was doing that for a minute. And then I also worked on our partner side in multifamily for a learning management system company called Grace Hill. And they basically supply all of the learning content for our industry. So that was a lot of fun too. I had an opportunity to work really side by side with a leading entrepreneur and seeing how that worked. Made a choice pretty early on that I didn't want to work in a big corporate environment, but liked the lean team and the ability to really be able to make decisions quickly. And yeah, sat in pretty much every seat, Roy, trying to find my way.
You
I was
mentioned multifamily. For our UK guests, tell us what multifamily is.
It's a really good point. A lot of people don't know. So it's apartments. Who runs those apartments that people live in? So multifamily is a huge industry in the back end for real estate. They basically manage the real estate for owners and investors. And sometimes owners and investors have their own management or operations teams, and those are considered operators of multifamily. So that's what I have been involved in. Yeah.
So you went through this journey, you learned, and you sat in different seats, and you did different things. And what were the hard lessons that you learned? What were the things that, if you were to turn around to someone today and say, listen, just avoid this and this. What are the top 2 or 3 hard lessons you've learned?
I would say probably number one is fear.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I was afraid to take some risks early on when it probably would have been less riskier to take those risks, but I was
Okay.
afraid.
Yeah.
And even though people told me at a very young age, you should own your own business, you should own your own business. And not that I regret any step that I took, I do look back sometimes and think, I should have just taken a little more risk there. Happy I'm doing it now. And I have taken a lot of risks. My friends would call that a crazy statement for me, but I think I could have possibly taken more earlier on. Yeah.
So, let's go through now. What have your middle years been, so to speak? Been going through this process, and you're changing, you're chopping, and you're learning, and you're seeing the nitty gritty of the company, the background, and just you decide you're going to go out and you're going to start on your own. And just walk me through that process, because I love to inspire other entrepreneurs to do that, to take that step, to step and go. It's what separates us. It's that moment that honestly separates an entrepreneur from everyone else. Because everybody I know has the greatest idea for a business, and they all want to tell me what it is. But will they do it? No. Right, I've got a big idea for you. You should do this. Okay, right. Why don't you do that?
Exactly, right? Yeah, I think jumping from marketing to sales to operations, what I did notice about the pattern in my life was about every 5 years, I was done. I went in, I'd troubleshoot, I'd clean up, I'd go. And it was because I needed the challenge. I wanted to continue to make a difference, make an impact. And in my last role, I was president of a company and we were going through a difficult time. I had joined a group of people that were not in multifamily, they were in other industries. It was a group through Vistage, and I had 18 other guys. There weren't any other women in the room, they were all men, but people who had been very successful entrepreneurs and owners of companies, not maybe just one, but two, three, four times over. And in sitting in that room, I heard the same issues, the same problems, the same aspirations, same obstacles across all industries. And it profoundly changed the way I felt about taking a step into what I'm doing now, because I knew that everybody has the same fears and trepidations, but I think what sets the entrepreneur apart is that they just do it. They jump and they don't have it all figured out. And I think for the planner, a process person like me, it just dawned on me like, hello, you can do this. And I did it. And I haven't regretted a bit of it. And I still keep my cohort. Like I got my pals, but my support system. But yeah, that's what made the difference. I just said, you know what, I can do it. I'm gonna do it. I can't help myself. I've got to do it. Like I've got to do it now.
I look back on my life, I've done many things, and one of them is skydiving. And in skydiving, there's indoor skydiving. And indoor skydiving, I started doing this when the first tunnels opened up in the UK. And I was stubborn. Yeah, I wasn't very good. I'm a big guy. That makes me at the edge of what the tunnels can actually lift up. And I was like, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to go. And there were these coaches that always sat on the side and they were like, I can coach you. I can coach you. And I was like, no, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay you £200 an hour. I'm already paying £600 an hour for this tunnel. I'm not going to pay you £200 an hour. And we danced this dance and we kind of played this game. And yeah, eventually something happened. And I've been doing the same thing hour on hour. Yeah, because you're inside this tub, right? This glass tub. You can't see yourself. You can't make adjustments. You can't. And yeah, one of the guys said, listen, Roy, I'm going to coach you for half an hour. And if it doesn't work, then don't pay me. So I'm like, okay, go. He had the right pitch. And I went in there 1 hour. I learned what I'd been trying to learn for 10 hours. So I had £6,000 worth of progress in half an hour. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's why coaching is important.
Yes.
You just can't. I mean, you mentioned your first mentor and coach and the Vistage group, which is in effect a level of coaching as well. And that, to me, that's so important that people actually understand that concept, that you can just progress so much faster if you just have someone sitting in your corner, right? Yeah,
So
looking at,
true. Yeah. So true. And you hear that consistently with successful people. They have coaches. They might have a few coaches, depending on what it is. And they do that for a reason. And again, to your point, look at how much money is saved. I'm just thinking about that. It's like, whoa. Yeah.
yeah,
If you're a young entrepreneur new to building businesses, it would be very smart
yeah,
to save those dollars up front and avoid the what I call road rash or potholes because
yeah.
someone else has already been through it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, model on those things. Yeah, understand. So let's talk about this amazing thing we're part of together. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But I don't want to talk about the necessarily the nitty-gritty of it in terms of what the 9 core competencies and all these things are. Those are great. But I want to talk, I want to dig more into what that means for those things. And I'll start and then you get the next. Meetings. I used to hate meetings as a business owner, as a director, as a whatever. I just hated meetings, right? Because meetings, I'd go into a meeting and I'd sit there in a meeting and we'd have a conversation. And I knew I was paying all these people an hourly rate or a salaried rate, to go spend an hour or two to go and discuss this problem. And then we'd leave and everybody would fire things at me and I'd give them that to do and we'd leave and we'd come back in 2 weeks and we'd do the same meeting, exactly the same meeting again. Nobody would moved on. No one would remember. No one, yeah. And one of the things I love about the 90 operating system and the way Boss Up brings it into the communities, the meetings are a key way that companies communicate with each other. But also we go in, we sit down and there's a structure and we come in and there's a segue. We get out of our previous days or the rest of the days rubble that we're in, we get into the moment we're in, and then we just have a structured way of going through and saying, right, okay, what are the headlines? What's going on? And then is everybody on track with their projects? And right, yeah, last week's to do, let's go through those. And there's a whole structure we go through. But I get up and I leave and I get back to my desk and there's an email there with all the things that everyone's going to do and how they're going to do them. And it just means that every meeting now I actually look forward to. So for me, that's the first play there. You're up. What's next?
Yeah, no, Roy, I just have to second you on that. And I just had a couple of L10s this morning and I love them. I love meetings now. And I think one of the other key factors about meetings that in this system work so well is the accountability factor. I mean, people are always saying, we've got everything in place. We just don't have any accountability. Well, one, that opens the door to you probably don't have everything in place. But also, how can you really use these systems to help with that accountability and meetings, especially where people have to come and show up and say, yes, I completed my to do, or no, I didn't complete my to do. I just think, I think you hit on one of my favorites as well. And one aspect in those, which is the issue processing, because I love that too. I love issues.
Yeah.
So I think my favorite is probably the accountability chart. I spend a lot of time there and I think it's the one of the foundational pieces of especially if a company has been running semi-successfully on an operating system and they're still struggling. We know this, it really can come down to people, right? And making sure that you have the right people in the right seats. And when you go through that exercise of identifying accountabilities, making sure that there's no overlap, that it's clear that people understand what is expected of them and what they own, right? I think that whole process eliminates an enormous amount of risk as you go into your year, into your quarterlies and into your year and in reaching your goals. It to me, that's the
Yeah.
pivotal tool. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. To that point, yeah, when you look at the organizational chart, we often look at it from the point of view of a business owner, yeah, or from an entrepreneur's point of view, right? And the problem with us is we're not like everybody else, right? We have a different set of values. We have a different set of ideals. We have a different set of motivations, because it's our company and we really invested in it, and it's all. Yeah, and then we go and give poor Joe this list of things that need to happen. We say, okay, just go do the stuff. And we presume they know what we're talking about. We presume they have our motivation. We presume that they have everything that they need to just go and do it. And then they come back 2 weeks later and they hasn't done anything. There's just nothing there. and then we get angry with him. Yeah.
You're right. Yes. Yeah, totally. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's easy. I've been doing it by myself for 10 years.
You've actually heard that. I've actually heard that very statement from an owner's mouth. Yes.
And the thing, is that when you flip it on its head, right, and you look at it sitting in the shoes or the seat of the person that's on the other side, they just really want clarity on what they're doing. That's all they really want. They want to be able to do a good job. Yeah, they want it to be, they want to know, right, what am I supposed to do? These are the things. We'll come to the numbers in a second, because those are my next favorite. I want to know what it is I'm supposed to do, and how can I do a good job? How can I know that if I've got 15 things to do, I don't know what any of them are. No one's giving me the proper instruction on them. Yeah, I never know where I am. And then you get nervousness, you get fear, you get people going off sick because they're stressed, and you, as a business owner, you're causing that stress. And that's not nice. Once you actually turn around and you start thinking about it, that's not a nice place to be. Right? It isn't a nice place to be at all.
It is not, especially when it's preventable. We're talking about things that, are preventable once they're brought to your consciousness. Like you have to be aware of them so that you can be intentional about how you utilize some of the things that we take for granted, which I think are accountabilities. I totally agree with you. And the thing that you said that I think is really important is how it affects team performance and team health, all of which are, I think, tied together, really. And you think about our workforce and you think about the stressors, and wouldn't it be great if the place that they could come to that is really full of clarity is their work, where they feel really impactful and that they can make a difference and that they're doing what's in their sweet spot. That whole process of getting right people, right seats is really, I think, the missing ingredient sometimes when you see organizations suffering and people suffering in their health and in their productivity, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And it's such a road littered with pebbles in the way that can trip you up. Because the first thing I did years ago was I read the book Traction. I tried to self-implement, and I thought this was okay. I read the book. It's okay. I got this. I'm a smart man. And back to that coaching piece, right? And there's just so much there, right? There's so much information. Yeah, I actually listened to it recently again on Audible. It's 5 hours, but every 10 minutes is another. Oh, okay, that's a good point. And this is knowledge from so many other places coming into one central place and putting it together in a smart way, right? And we go through this journey as a businessman, and we almost have these blinkers on the goal, and we forget about the vision. Nobody else knows what our goal is because we don't want to tell them how much money we want to make, just in case we get into trouble because they're not making it. They're already presuming we're making 10 times more than we're actually making because we haven't paid ourselves a salary for 3 months.
So true.
So this open clarity piece, when you sit back and you look at it and you start looking at numbers and you start looking at how you communicate everything across, it's just so formative, isn't it?
It really is. And I think the coaching component of that and the having a partner to go through that journey with, because you're right, it's a lot. I mean, it is a lot to do it correctly. And some of the misses are quite costly. And if you look at just that partnership, and I've worked with people that have led me through when I first started with business operating systems, and I don't know what I would have done without them. It's one thing to have a tool, it's another thing to have the craftsman next to you teach you how to use the tool.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that one.
Taking those step by steps and giving you a chance to look at yourself as well, because that's the hardest thing I think quite often is we have to admit to ourselves that we didn't quite get it as right as we might have thought we would. So
Yeah.
So tell me, your current journey. How did you get into that? What was that? When was that? When was that step? When was it you said, okay, I'm gonna do it? Can you remember when you decided? I mean, I can still remember my very first job of working in the mushroom farm. Very first one. I'll tell you that if if you like. But yeah, tell me yours.
I do want to hear it for sure. I maybe you'll have to come on my podcast next because we can't stop this conversation. This is an ongoing. So
Yeah.
yes, the pivotal moment was when, at the end of the day, I no longer had control over my destiny. So I decided that the next time I went out, I was going to use all the skill sets that I had learned, especially around business operating systems. And I was going to share that with not one company, but as many companies as I possibly could, and as many small to medium sized business owners that I could find, because I saw over time what a huge difference it made in my work and in my organization. And it was a control issue too, for sure. I wanted to be able to expand on what I wanted to do. And what I've seen in working now with multiple companies is that dream come to fruition. And I'm not done yet. I mean, this is just the beginning, right? I'm not even quite 2 years in yet. But the motivating factor was being able to do this on my own and also building a team at the same time, because I'm not really a solopreneur type. I love building teams. It's one of my gifts. And I've had a blast doing that too. So it was really about enjoying work to its fullest, but also about giving back and making an impact, opening doors like people opened for me all along my journey. If people wouldn't have opened doors for me, I wouldn't have been at the table in my roles. So someone had to open the door and say, you belong at this table. Come on in. And I want other people to feel that way too.
And I mean, 2 years in now, 2 years is, what is it? Top 65 or top 70% of companies, because most people don't make it 2 years, right? So 2 years, 3 years.
I practice what I preach, Roy. I am on a business operating system, and I set that thing up before I even launched, because I had to go through and put together a business plan, and it totally helped me to do that. And it gave me the almost outside perspective. I know it's a tool, but it was an outside perspective of how to take and build my company so that I too wasn't going to run into some of the potholes that people before me have definitely fallen into. And so I follow it with my team, and it has made a tremendous difference in how quickly I've been able to get up and start expanding. So I'm a good example of how it's working.
Yeah. And that's really it. Yeah, you can take your own idea, you can take something that you believe in. And one of the other things, just to touch on it, the vision, and then you almost touched on it there. You didn't just give it to me. Give me the vision. Come on, hit me with it.
Yes, yes. Well, the vision is to really help small to medium sized businesses grow and scale and provide opportunities for owners of these businesses and their teams to have a really integrated life, to be able to make an impact on their health and their family time. That is really the vision of the company, is to help others and also to give opportunities to our team to help others. So the vision and the goal of Here to Elevate is really to multiply our bench so that we're able to coach even more people that are in that small to medium sized business range to be able to help and grow and scale their businesses successfully.
And you mentioned, your market that you're looking into now is actually expanding into more things rather than just the property sector. How has that been? We know that the business operating systems are for everybody, but again, until you actually dig into it a little bit, you don't really see it in real life. How's that been in real life?
I guess affirming would be a good word, where I've now been able to see the business operating system work in an industry unlike one I've actually worked in myself. And what's interesting, and I know we've talked about this before, is that all of those concepts can be utilized across all industries. It does not matter. And as a coach, if you understand the concepts and you know how to run and scale a business using these operating systems, you can do that across multiple industries as well. At the end of the day, we all have the same issues. Like I said at the beginning, we're confronted with the same economic situations a lot of the time, and people issues a lot of the time. Those are all very, I think, generic yet critical parts of a business that, again, operating systems answer to and solve for. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I have a client now that was my I don't want to say guinea pig, but it was the test really to see, can I transfer this system and this knowledge and assist this company in scaling? And it's been a beautiful journey so far. We're 7 months in, and and I'll say this too, and this is probably a whole nother topic, Roy. The people that I'm aligning with, the clients that I have begun partnerships with, they were ready and they were open to feedback, looking at things a different way. All of those things are absolutely necessary if you team up with a coach and you want them to help you. I think those are really important. Those agreements, those operating agreements that you have with them at the very beginning are really important, and they have to be ready. And this particular owner was definitely ready, and he has just been a joy. He and his team have just been a joy to work with.
Amazing. Yeah. So before we wrap up, I just want to come back to something that you said earlier on. I said issues and you went, whoo. So yeah, I love issues as well, but give me an idea. Yeah. Why do you love issues so much? And what are issues for people that have no idea? Just give us the flavor.
Yeah, sure. So one of the great components of the weekly meeting is that there's this time, and it's actually the bulk of the time that's spent in dealing with people's what we call issues. And issues are things that you need help solving. You need the team to help you solve. And there's an art about how you do issue processing, and people have different methodologies about it. But one of the things that I found over time is that the more prepared you are to state what your issue is, and the more clarity you can give to your issue, what you've done in the past to solve your issue by yourself that maybe hasn't worked, really gives the team a lot of information. So that one, they're not telling you solutions or giving you solutions that you've already tried, right? Or are missing the mark in some way. And again, so clarity on giving the issue clearly to the group is important. But I also think being open to the feedback of the solution, getting to the solution is also important. The other thing I learned about issue processing that I didn't necessarily know before doing it multiple times was just listening and not giving the answer or the solution. Many of us are problem solvers, right? So we just jump in and we want to give the solution, and we haven't really thoroughly asked enough questions of the person with the issue to get all the information we would need to formulate a really good solution to that issue. And so issue processing is great. I think meaty issues are important. I always know when a meeting is a bit fluffy because we're not really getting into the good stuff. And we're not really, oh yeah, I get this issue. I've had people make up issues just so they have something to talk about. And so being able to identify the fluff and really dive into that and get to the meat of the real issue, I think is an art form. I highly respect people who do that and have modeled that for me. But the best part is getting the to-dos out of it. So you get action items, action steps to solve your issue, whether it's in the next week, or perhaps it becomes a larger goal that you need more time, 90 days to solve for. But to get some action out of the issue is another pathway to execution, which is usually where we fail the most. We've got the great ideas, a great vision, we've got the plan, we've got the right people, right seats, and then we don't execute. So this is a really great way of getting the accountability piece, the to-do, into the mix and into the conversation and into the culture, which I think is really important.
The other thing for me that issues do that I don't think people realize nearly as much is it's such a massive trust builder over time. If you're able to put your issue properly in front of other people and say, I haven't been able to do this, I need you to help me. People like helping, right? Yeah. And when everybody is doing that, when the whole team is saying, please help, the whole team just gets stronger and they trust each other more.
Yeah, that's really profound, right? And I think I take it for granted because I work for people that are always asking for feedback. That's the only people I'm around. But you're absolutely right. Like if you think back the first time when someone took the risk and they put it out there that they needed help with something, you're just like, wow, I want to help this person. Look at them. They're vulnerable. I want to jump in. I want to do everything I can for them. And yeah, think about the speed. And we know what speed is, what speed means. Think about the speed to which you can move to the next thing if you are able to talk that freely with your team and get that kind of assistance right off the bat. And you're not harboring something for 6 months, unable to solve for it. Huge.
Yeah, it's your health. You've got something that's nagging you all the time because you can't do it, and you should be able to do it, and everyone's looking for you to get it done, and you can't ask anyone for help. And then just massively affects your mental health. So all the issues are just such a nice messy way to get all this stuff out, right?
Yes, I love it.
Really dig in. So yeah, wrapping up, I just want you to think of if somebody's an aspiring business entrepreneur or they're in a business and they are ready, as you say, what would be your one bit of advice that you'd say to these people right now?
Ask for help and reach out. And what's a conversation? If you can get one thing out of a conversation with someone who's been there and done that, wouldn't you take it if there was no strings attached? I think that's important. I think people need to make a move and take some action. And I say move because movement is a big deal. When you get stuck and you're just in that rut, moving towards a solution is very cathartic, and it's what's going to get you to the next spot, right? The next stage of whatever it is you're working on and doing. And so I would say reach out, be ready, be open, and there are people that will help you. All you got to do is ask. Yeah.
So if people want to get hold, thank you so much for joining me. And if people want to get hold of you and kind of reach out on LinkedIn or anywhere else, how best can they get hold of you?
Well, LinkedIn is my big place, so you can find me there. And I also have my website, which is heretoelevate.com, and it's elevate.com. And there's lots of ways to contact me there on all the good stuff, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. But yeah, reach out. I'm here to help.
Thanks again, Suzanne. Lovely chatting.
Thank you, Roy. Yes, it was great.
Thank you for tuning into Power Movers. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or ideas for future episodes. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, or drop me an email at roy@allthepower.co.uk. I'd love to hear from you. Remember, the content in this podcast is for informational purposes only. Always consult a qualified coach or professional before making significant decisions. Until next time, keep moving forward, stay inspired, and live the life you love. Thanks for listening.